What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Lungile. Welcome to the Ironheart Podcast. This is episode 39. In today's episode, we're talking about 95 versus running your own business. I love this topic. It's one of my favorite topics. I just wanted to talk about the difference between 95ing and running your own business. Just a bit about the podcast. The Ironheart Podcast is a podcast about filmmaking, television, and marketing. So we talk about issues in the industry, from the film industry, TV industry, and marketing. So most of these things we speak about are some of my opinions, some of my tips, and some of the things that I like to talk about. Okay. So today we talk about working a 9 to 5 versus running your own film production or TV production business. Okay. So my name is Lungile, and I run my own video production business in Joburg, South Africa. But before that, I used to work for different companies, and I've experienced a bit of both, running my own company and working for other companies. And sometimes there's a debate in whether you should work full-time or you should freelance or you should have your own business. And there's obviously pros and cons to both. My experience of working a 9 to 5 was really great. Obviously, there were some shitty moments. One thing that I enjoyed about working a 9 to 5 is that it's great. You get to learn, you get to grow, you get to sharpen your skills. You work with great people. Sometimes you get to work with really terrible people, which you can't really do anything about them. Like sometimes there's workplace bullies. And sometimes they bully you out of that job. I had one job I worked at, and I got bullied so much that I left that company. I even left without even having a next job lined up because they were just making my life miserable. But that's not an experience that everyone goes through. That was just my one experience. I'm not saying that's what you experienced, but those are things that are really possible that do happen. So I started working in the industry in 2008. I freelanced a bit while I was in film school, and then I got some more permanent type jobs. And I've worked for 5 to 6 production companies and agencies, and all of them had their pros and cons. They had their things that they did really well and things that were like the rotten things in the company that you couldn't get away from. Some of them had their skeletons. Some of them were like ultra racist. But I stayed because I didn't want to not work. But there's 2 companies that I had to leave because it was just unbearable. Workplace bullying is a real thing, and it can get really hectic. And most of these companies I worked for 1 to 5 years. I moved around a lot because I just wanted to challenge myself and see what other people are doing. I mean, some people work at companies for a long time, and that's them. I mean, that's their prerogative. But I moved around a lot, maybe a bit too much, if more than average. But But the longest company that I stayed at was 3.5 years. But most of the other ones, it was really, really short, around a year and a half. I grew a lot working for different companies. One thing I did enjoy is that, when you work for a company and have a 9 to 5, you don't need your own computer. You can work off their computers. You don't have to worry about IT. There's great relationships, you make great friends, there's camaraderie, and you get to grow, work on different projects. But one thing that sucks is obviously the politics and the bullying, like I mentioned. Sometimes you work overtime a lot, which kind of sucks. Sometimes there's other workers that get special treatment. When they mess up, they don't get grilled as much as you do, so that feels unfair. But I guess it is what it is. Oh, and obviously, the team team events, end of the year parties. That's always fun. People's birthdays. There's a lot of good stuff about having a 9 to 5, and also there's also bad stuff. And then when it comes to freelancing and running your own business, there's also pros and cons also. You have to be marketing all the time. You have a lot of free time. Sometimes it's too much because you don't know what to do. If you're not working, you're not getting paid, which kind of sucks. But having a lot of free time helps you, like in terms of doing things that you need to do, going to the doctor, running errands. You've got time for all of those things. You can make more money. There's a room for a lot of personal growth because you're doing a lot of stuff. When you're freelancing, you're quoting, you're talking about money, you're the IT guy, you're marketing, you're negotiating, you're the technician. If your computer breaks, you have to fix it, you have to do maintenance, you can't really ask anyone. Another thing that's a little shitty is that it can get a little lonely. Like, for instance, when I see my girlfriend having like a team building thing, sometimes I feel a little bad, like, oh, I can't talk to anyone. Or they're giving each other gifts like Secret Santas. It sucks. But yeah, both has their pros and cons. Freelancing gives you a lot of freedom and responsibility. You have to be responsible with your money. You have to have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses most of the time, so you can't be splurging and going to Gonka. And you do get lonely. That's one thing that I noticed a lot. I used to ask a lot of business friends of mine, like, don't you feel lonely? But they did. I don't know if they were lying or they just didn't say anything. So how I sort of been counteracting that is working from coffee shops or going to events, just to network and be around people, or join a business coaching group. I joined a group called The Future for a little while, and it was really great to talk to other creative business owners, see that they're struggling with the same stuff, whether they're based in London or Russia or wherever, or America or Australia or Sydney. They all go through the same stuff. So that was really cool to connect and talk to people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. And yeah, it's a lot of people say that it's risky. Yes, it is risky, but I feel like also working full-time is risky because you never know when the job will end, and you never know when, you're retrenched, and when that happens, you're like shocked. You don't know what to do. But also, I'm not going to lie and say freelancing and running your own businesses is a breeze, because it's not. You're working all the time. You never switch off. You're always looking for new clients and always marketing. And sometimes you have shitty clients. I've had clients that swore at me. I've had clients that abused me, and I've had really, really great clients also. And you have to manage them. Some of them try to take advantage. Some of them don't pay you on time. So you have to chase them, but you have to chase them in a nice way so you don't burn bridges. It's like you're juggling, you're managing people, managing yourself. But it's not too bad. I think when you first start, you're really scared because you don't know where the next job is going to come from. But then after some time, you get used to it because you're marketing, you're also doing your own projects. You sort of get used to it. So would I say freelancing is for you? If you like your freedom and you are responsible and don't mind working hard all the time so you can have a bit of free time to do what you want, I'd say freelancing is for you. But if you want to have something safe and stable and predictable, maybe a 9 to 5 is what you should stick with, obviously when I started, I was sold the entrepreneurship dream, listening to Gary Vee, like, oh, freedom, I'm going to be a billionaire, whatever. But you realize it's a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. I had to sacrifice a lot of things in terms of not chilling with friends, not going out, canceling subscriptions to different things, saving money so that you make it last. But there is a lot of growth. I won't lie. Like, I feel like I've grown a lot since from a 9 to 5. I think back when I was 9 to 5ing, I had fun and, it was great. But I started to resent the people I worked for because I was like, why can't I have this? Why can't I have my own company? I just believed in myself that I could do it. And I just wasn't happy anymore. 9 to 5ing. So it was weird. It was weird. But I'm not saying it was all bad. There was some really, really great times. I've met some really great friends 9 to 5ing, made some great connections, met great people, had some great times, and learned a whole lot from a lot of really cool people. I've had some good mentors, amazing mentors. When I started writing, started editing, I made a lot of good friends. But yeah, so that's what I think about the difference between 9 to 5ing and working freelance and running your own business. They both have their pros and cons, and they're not all for everyone. So you have to decide if you ever want to do that. Leave your 9 to 5 in freelance, or leave freelancing and go get to 9 to 5. Just know that none of them are perfect. They all have their pros and cons. And you just have to decide for yourself. And if you do ever plan to freelance, leave your 9 to 5, make sure you start freelancing while you're working, work on weekends, at nights, save some money, have 3 months salary, 6 months salary, so that you don't start on a feast or famine type as you start, And also, if you want to go from freelancing to get a job, make sure you also save some money so that if you go work for a company, you can test them out and see if they're a company you want to work for. Because when you go for an interview, the company always show themselves as that they're great. And if you find out they're shitty, you can just leave because you've got money saved. So, in fact, we should have learned this long ago. Because when you move from 9 to 5 to 9 to 5, you find out the company is not the greatest you thought it was, and then now you can't leave because you don't have money saved up, and you're like, I have to stay and suffer. So having money gives you the freedom to be able to move around and be free to say no if you don't like a place or if you don't like a client. But yeah, hope you guys like this video. It's a little not technical, but I like making these podcasts. I hope they're meaningful and positive. I hope you learned something. And if you did and you're listening to this on YouTube, drop a comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell button so you can be notified every time I drop a new video. And if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, please review us or send us a mail. Look in our show notes. We've got an email address. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, guys. My name is Lungile, and this is the Ironheart Podcast, episode 38. Hope you guys like this. I think it's episode 39. Hope you guys like this podcast. Until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.